social media pales in comparison. It genuinely pales in comparison to a really, really good book. The whole point of social media, the whole point of all these short form videos is just for you to be entertained. But I feel like for the vast majority of people, we're not even that entertained. Basically, in today's video, I'm going to convince you guys to put down your phones and start reading books. I'm going to tell you guys why it is so much more beneficial. Not even just like the generic reasoning, whatever. Like, I'll actually persuade you guys. I'm going to use my 7th grade persuasive speech writing skills. I'm also going to talk about some tips and strategies on how to get started reading more and being less on your phone all the time. I'm also going to give out some book recommendations. For the past 2 weeks, I have basically switched from scrolling on social media, consuming tons and tons of short form videos, and just having my brain be so fried from all of that. I've switched that into reading. And although I haven't been completely perfect with it, I finished about like 3 books in the past 2 weeks. And it has honestly been one of the better decisions of my life. And I just want to get started on why you should read books more. And it's not going to be like the typical arguments, like obviously the attention span, you learn more vocabulary, I don't know, like books are good. Yeah, they're just good. But recently, I have been on social media and I have been bored. Like genuinely, I have been bored. Every single time I'm on Instagram Reels, I swear to God, it just shows like the 3 same videos in different fonts. Are you even entertained? Are you even enjoying yourself at that point? It's so funny to me because the whole point of social media, the whole point of all these short form videos is just for you to be entertained, for you to enjoy yourself. But I feel like for the vast majority of people, we're not even that entertained. Sure, it's haha funny for a bit, but do you ever finish scrolling for like 2 hours and been like, wow, that was such a good scrolling session. I was so entertained. I feel so fulfilled in life. But you do feel those things towards books. You do feel those things towards movies. And guess what? You do remember the movies you watch, and you do remember the books that you read. With short form videos, you literally don't even remember what you watched. I basically remember every single book that I have read from the day that I could read. I remember the first chapter book I read. I remember all the Archie comics I read, all the Bone comics. Social media pales in comparison. It genuinely pales in comparison to a really, really good book you find, okay? And I'm talking about like those books where you're just on the edge of your seat. You're highly entertained. It's a really good form of entertainment. You just feel more genuine emotions rather than a sort of apathetic amusement at something that you're not really connected to. As well, I've noticed when I put more of my time towards reading instead of just scrolling, I feel a lot happier. There's so much noise in the world nowadays. There's always these like clickbaity titles. It just fills your brain with a lot of nonsense, and a lot of it turns into anxiety. The things that produce like this fear reaction in you, unfortunately, those are the videos that get the most views. So there's a tendency for those videos to become more and more popular. And that just kind of pollutes your mind with a lot of unnecessary information that causes a lot of unnecessary anxiety. And as well, I want to talk about the fact that characters are honestly better influencers. When you read a book and there's just this character that really resonates with you and you kind of follow their journey and you see how they grow, like you're almost influenced by their actions. You want to be more like them or you want to be less like them. A lot of people who write know that when you write especially a long novel, you want to put more and more obstacles in the character's way and have more and more challenges. And just seeing how your favorite character, or even like some like morally gray character, deals with these struggles and deals with these problems, it influences you in a sense. And I'm not saying to be influenced by like Tyrion Lannister, but even then, it's like you also have the space to make your own judgments about them. I genuinely believe that books are one of those things that make your life 20 to 30% better, guaranteed. And I'm telling you, when I'm really engrossed in a fantasy book, my life is 100% better. I always feel better. I always feel good after finishing a book. I never think, damn, I regretted those 8 hours. Maybe once or twice. A Wrinkle in Time was not my favorite book as a kid. Let's just say that. I also wanted to share some of the strategies or tactics that I use to help myself keep off of social media. I want to be very transparent and say that I'm not like just deleted everything and not go on it at all. I do go on Instagram to check my messages so my friends know that I'm alive. And I do go on YouTube to still watch YouTube videos. I just don't go on YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels. And when I watch a YouTube video, I keep it in this, what I call consumer diaries. So basically, I just write the date and then every single video I watch that day, I just paste the title under. It surprises me how many videos I watch, even during the days where I think I don't watch that many videos. And it also acts as a deterrent. Writing down every single video I watch has definitely made me way more selective with the content. I'm not really so prone to clicking on things just because I'm kind of curious and I kind of want to see the brain rot. I'm more tempted to actually finish videos and to click on the videos that I genuinely think will make a good difference in my life. And there's a lot of good videos on YouTube. I think we just have to be a little bit more conscious about our selection and actually finish watching the whole thing. There was definitely this one video, I think it was by Yes Theory, and I watched it on the plane because it was the only video I downloaded. This video, I still think about it. I think it was called like the loneliest people on earth or something. They mostly just showed old people like living in the wilderness. Except for this one guy who was young. And just seeing like all these old people having so much life and so much joy inside of them and still doing what they're passionate about just made me realize it's not even that bad to be old. That's such a huge side tangent, but that is to say that there are a lot of good videos on YouTube, genuinely well-made videos. And a lot of times, like when you finish watching a whole video, you don't really regret it. It's not like you watch 10 seconds of like some street interview of some guy trying to make some women look bad. And as well, I deleted all my social media apps off of my phone. I highly recommend this. Just delete it from your phone, and then if you can, just check it on your laptop because it's just less addicting. You don't have it in your pocket. As well, what I did is because I have like this subconscious habit almost of clicking on the YouTube icon on my homepage. So I did that little thing where like you change an app's icon to look a certain way. So I changed my books app to look like my YouTube app's cover. So sometimes when I subconsciously click on my YouTube app, it just opens the book app and then I remember, wait, I'm supposed to be reading. So that's a little trick that I used. One huge tip that I want to give you guys is read books that you genuinely enjoy, okay? Especially if you're just trying to replace social media with reading. Sometimes I think like, I'm gonna read Plato's Republic or like something and be super intellectual. Let's just say some days when faced with Plato's Republic and YouTube Shorts, you're going to pick YouTube Shorts. When faced with in 1844, Nietzsche, I don't know how to pronounce his name, was born in a farm and YouTube Shorts. I might choose YouTube Shorts, but for me personally, when choosing between an action scene where some dude's lost in a labyrinth and trying to solve this mystery of like this ancient world, maybe I'll choose that over YouTube Shorts. And before, I always made the mistake of like, oh wow, this book looks so cool. Like I want to be someone who has read this book. And then I stopped reading it because I'm bored. So when you're just like starting out, going back into the habit of reading, because I know most of y'all watching this, y'all were reading books when you were kids, okay? You guys are reading 800-page Harry Potter books like that. Okay, and then TikTok happened. For people who want to get back into the habit of reading, it sounds like common sense, but read the books and the genres that you enjoy. Don't be pressured into reading some literature nonsense because it feels more intellectual. Read comics, read graphic novels, read fantasy novels, read nonfiction if you like nonfiction, read romance, like trashy romance. Who cares? Just start reading things that actually entertain you, because at least for me, one of the primary goals of reading besides gaining knowledge, blah, blah, is entertainment. So what is the point if you are not entertained? You have a finite time on earth, and we're not spending that time reading books that you do not enjoy when there are a huge amount of books that you would enjoy that you probably won't get through in this lifetime. And that stresses me out sometimes too. Like there might be one book that I like so much that I will never read. But yeah, there's so many books that you will enjoy. So go read the books that you will enjoy. I also wanted to give a few tips about how to find books. For me, I have the library app Libby, which is really good for audiobooks. If you have a library card, I read on the iBooks app on my iPhone. And how I get the books is I search up the book name that I want and then EPUB at the end on Google. And if people are really diligent and you cannot find their books for free, if the book is really popular, if it's some like girl with a dragon tattoo bullshit, do not buy that book. You will find 8 copies in a thrift store. If it's Game of Thrones, if it's anything that's pretty popular, you will find it for $1 or $2 at a thrift store. I'm not even kidding you. Don't go to a secondhand bookstore. Don't go to Indigo. Thrift stores, books are $1 to $2. $1 for paperback, $2 for hardcover. You can find most popular books at thrift stores. And I just wanted to end this video talking about a few of the books I've been reading lately. I finished The Will of the Many. It is genuinely one of the best fantasy novels I can say that I have read in the past 2 years. It's an adult fantasy, but it's not really like the super heavy like world building, like super Game of Thrones type of stuff. It's more fast paced. There's more of a plot. No offense to Game of Thrones. And it kind of gives more like Percy Jackson, Harry Potter vibes, which I love. And the concept is so interesting. The concept of there being a hierarchy of will, that concept itself just kept me reading. And I got to a point, like I think maybe a third through the book, where I was just so hooked I could not put it down. Like I have not been that hooked on a book in a while, so I highly recommend The Will of the Many. As well, right now I'm on the First Law series, so I finished reading The Blade itself, and I'm about like 60% through the second book, which is Before They Are Hanged. And I love this series because of the characters. Like the way the characters are written are so good. Some parts like really make you like not even like the characters, they make you uncomfortable. It is so interesting. And as well, I tried to read 2 books and I kind of just left them. One of them was Kafka on the Shore by Murakami because I just wasn't really into it. I like looking at my maps and I like finding out about wars and kings and stuff. I don't really care about some guy who's 15 and ran to a shore. But maybe it gets more interesting. I don't know, it's not my vibe, but I might pick it up later. I also started reading The Fourth Wing and I think I got through like maybe 10 to 20% of it. I'm sorry, but this book, I could not continue reading this book. There was too many cliches in there. There was so many like, his eyes darkened, he moved with lethal grace. The next time I read that, I'm jumping off a cliff with lethal grace. Other books that I recommend in general, I feel like Game of Thrones is always solid, but I have to say that it's not one of those books that gets you like really addicted. As well, Six of Crows, my favorite YA series. It gets you on the edge of your seat. It has some interesting world building. It honestly has everything. I truly really like it. It is so deserving of all the hype. And as well, I have read some non-fiction books. The Wretched of the Earth is a really good book by Frantz Fanon. I read it for my anti-colonial theory class and I highly recommend it. The way that it's written is not so heavy and some of the concepts in there really make you think about things. It's not just, oh, like colonialism bad. And I forgot to say that I also have a book here that I might hold in the thumbnail. I don't know. This is The Lies of Locke Lamora. This book destroyed me, so also highly recommend. As well, for people who are into science, for people who are into universe stuff, I really recommend this. I'm so sorry, my grade 8 library. I have kept this book with me all these years because it's one of my favorite books about the universe. What I like about it a lot is that it's able to explain things to someone who doesn't know so much about like quantum mechanics or stuff. Like as long as you know what an atom is and what electrons are, I think you're good for this book. It describes general relativity really well. It's basically about string theory and the way it's written is very understandable, if that makes sense, but at the same time it's quite complex. So I really like the books where they're written in a way that's like, okay, if you really tried you could understand it, but they're also not like treating you as a complete toddler and just being like, hey, the sun is a star. And there's also this book by Neil deGrasse Tyson and 2 other people. It's called Welcome to the Universe, and that's also one of my favorite books about astronomy. It's so cool because I think it's like written just for like regular people, but the concepts in there are really interesting and you don't really come across these concepts. Like even in my astronomy courses that I've taken in university, we don't even talk about time travel through a black hole, where like how 2 cosmic strings can converge and create this type of like almost a time machine because of the warping of space-time. It's really cool. Hopefully I didn't yap your ears off about all this book stuff, but if you're at the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. And that's all I have to say for today. Just read more books and then our generation will be a little bit less doomed. So yeah, see you guys.